Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to be walking through parts of the MIT App Inventor. So we're not going to do blocks today, but we're going to go through everything on your viewer. So over here we have your palette, and in your palette it contains parts of your user interface, which are like buttons, canvases, and pictures, etc. It also contains various app components like maps, sensors, texting, storage, and other things like that. Right here is your viewer, which shows a preview of what your app will look like. It tells you your hidden and non-visual components in your app. So right here where it says display hidden components in viewer, so if you had something like a notifier, a notifier is a non-view component right now when you first put it in. So if you press display, it will be able to show your notifier right here in your viewer. Over here is your components, and in your components that tells you everything on your screen that your user can see, and it tells you all the things working behind your screen. So like I said, it tells you over here about all your non-viewing components, your hidden components, all that is shown over here. Over here are your properties, and in your properties you can change whatever you want about the components in your app, from the text color to your background images to your screen orientation. It's all in your properties. So let's go back to our palette and learn what all these user interface controls do. So a button is basically what your user will press to get somewhere else, okay? And your checkbox. Checkboxes are something that you would use if you were giving your user a quiz or a poll. A date picker is like if you say put in your birthday or what is today's date. That's what you use that for. Your images is if you want to put in a picture of something for your app. A label is putting in a text. A list picker is to choose an item in your list. So when you make your list, you make your lists in the block section. Your list view is to see a list in your app, and that's also what you will make in your block section. Your notifier sends notifications to the phone. A password text box is what you would use for a login or sign up pages. A slider is for your volume. So if you had music in your app or a video, you would use this to turn it up. A spinner generates random answers. So if you had if you were asking your user what they wanted to do and they didn't really know, you could use a spinner to generate something random for them to do. A text box is what your user would use to enter text. So, like up here on your thing, this is a text box because here the Google's user can enter a website. A time picker is where you insert a specific time into your app. So if you wanted your user like what time were you born, this is what a time picker will be used for. A web viewer is if you wanted to make your own browser or put some type of website into your app. So it keeps you from having just to put the links in, but you can use a web viewer instead. After your palette in the user interface, it has the layout, and in your layout it can tell whatever you have up here is how you will have it laid out. So horizontal arrangement is if you want to put two things next to each other. A horizontal scroll arrangement is if you want to put more than two things next to each other, and so that your user can scroll so that you can have it be able to go to the side instead of going just up and down. A table arrangement is if you want to put something in the shape of a table, so it can be set up as 1, 2, 3, 4, and not just be set up straight down as 4 things or side to side as 4 things. A vertical arrangement is if you want two things to be up and down from each other without following the things of the screen. So if you had your things, okay. A vertical scroll arrangement is if you don't want your screen to be scrollable, but you want them to be able to scroll within your vertical arrangement. So if you have more than 4 things that cover up the whole screen, and you want your user to be able to scroll down without making your whole screen scrollable, that's what you would use a vertical scroll arrangement for. In your media, you have things like the camcorder, which is the video camera. You have the camera, which takes pictures. Image picker. Like if you want them to pick an image from their gallery. So if someone was making up an account for your app, they could use that as their profile picture. A player is if you wanted to have music in your app. So a player plays like whatever song you wanted to play. You can make the player skip, or you can make it go back. Your sound, what your sound does is just, if you have a video, you can turn the sound on and off without your user having to make their phone's volume change. A sound recorder is if you had like a voice recorder and you wanted your user to record their voice on the phone. That's what that would be for. A speech recognizer. I don't know if you guys, like, if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android. For iPhone, Siri is a speech recognizer. You can hear if you say, "Hey Siri," it recognizes your voice and then Siri will come up. If you say, "Okay Google," Google will recognize your voice and it will come up. A text-to-speech. Text-to-speech is if your user types in like a story or something and you want it to be read to, that's what you would use text-to-speech for. Or if you had in your blocks, like if you wanted your user to hear something that you were saying, that's what you could use a text-to-speech for. A video player is when you want to put a video in your app and it'll play the video for you. A Yandex translate. If you have things for different languages, that's what you would use a Yandex translate for. I actually never used that before, so that was kind of new to me. Wow. Drawing and animation. A ball. Let's say if there's this game that used to be there when we were little. It's like there would be this little paddle at the bottom, and the ball would bounce around the screen, and you would have to catch it on a paddle. That's what you use a ball for. A canvas is if your app was like an art app. That's what your user would use the canvas for, so your user could draw pictures or whatever they wanted. An image sprite is if you were making a game like Flappy Bird. MIT doesn't draw images itself, so you can make your own picture or sprite, and then it can turn into an image, and then that's what you can use for playing games in your app. Your maps. Basically, all this here is if you wanted to track something or if you wanted to track yourself. The marker would be telling you where you are. The map would show, like, if there was a location that your user wanted to get to, it would show them where the location was. Your sensors, an accelerometer sensor is like if you shook your phone, something pops up. Like Snapchat has an accelerometer sensor. A barcode scanner is like if you wanted to scan something at the store, it could tell you how much the price was. A clock will be like if we count down to this specific time, that's when something pops up on your screen. A gyroscope sensor. Whoa. Oh, I never used that before. Let me just look that up. What is a gyroscope? A gyroscope is, it measures the orientation of your phone. Like, is your phone spinning or whatever, something like that. So you can use that for a game. A location sensor, if you want to figure out where you are, that can use that for. Near field, if something is near you or not. Orientation is which way your phone is facing, like is it sideways or what. Pedometer, how many steps are you taking. A proximity sensor, what is around you. For social, you have your contacts, emails, phone calls, phone numbers. This will take you to your contacts and tell you, like, if you wanted to call somebody. Sharing is if you wanted to share an image. Texting, if you wanted to text somebody off of our app. Or Twitter, which, yes, you can tweet things and everything off of your app. Storage, a fusion table is one big giant table of all, your usernames and passwords and stuff like that on your app. Tiny database would be a database within your own app. A tiny web database would be for a database that already exists, but it's on the internet. And connectivity is if you wanted your app to have Bluetooth or something like that, that's what you would use connectivity for. Lego Mindstorms. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of an EV3 robot or anything like that, but this helps. You can make an app for your robot with all of these light sensors, like all that type of stuff. You would have to have a EV3 to understand what all this is for. So these experimental, those are databases, but they're not like, these are databases that are still in like development or whatever. So you can use them to experiment, but you don't have to. And extensions is something that you import yourself. So if you had something extended to your app, that's what you would use. Over here is if you wanted to add or remove a screen in your app. So parts of your app, like different pages if you wanted to add or delete them. Here in your properties, this is how your screen would align. So if you wanted to go to the left or to the center or to the right, or the top to the middle to the bottom, that's what you would use a line horizontal and a line vertical for. This can change your app name if you wanted it to. You can have your background image here. Closed screen animation. So if you wanted your screen to like fade whenever it was closed, that's what you would use this for. Icon, I think you would use this for up here somewhere. So if your app had a logo, that's what you would use it for. Your open screen animation, how your app opens when you click it. Screen orientation, your primary color. Screen orientation is like landscape and portrait. So however you want to hold your phone, you can make your app change according to this. And the theme is like how do you want your text and everything. Like you have a dark theme or a light theme, whatever you want. Title visible is if you want your title to be visible on your page. So when it's not checked, it shows blank, but when it is checked, it shows that your title screen one. And yeah, so basically that's all for this user interface part of your interface. And next we'll go into blocks and figure out what all those blocks are for and what they mean. So thanks for watching today's video, and see you later.